What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Then We Eat. Have you ever wondered how far in advance we shoot our videos? Well, you're about to find out. Happy Movember. On this week's episode, we're going to be making Rosé pasta sauce. And as always with our videos, you are going to hear the induction whirring in the background. So while that gets up to temperature, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter and a tablespoon of oil. So at this point, our butter and our oil is plenty hot enough, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to add 1 shallot to that. Now typically, in addition to the shallot, I would also add 1/4 cup of green pepper. In this case, I don't need to do that because our tomatoes have been fire roasted with red pepper and garlic. We did those when we made the tomato soup. You can see that video up here. So we don't need to add that stuff, but if you did need to add that, you'd add the green pepper now. Once those shallots have had some time to sweat down and become nice and translucent, you're going to carry on and add the garlic. In my case, because my garlic is already roasted, I'm not going to add it now, so I'll move on to the spices. First thing we're going to add is approximately 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. We're also going to add 1 tablespoon of thyme and 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Let that saute for just a minute or two. One thing I should mention, I am using fresh basil and fresh parsley, so I'm going to add those later. If you were using dried stuff, you're going to use a teaspoon instead of a tablespoon, and you would add it now. The next thing we're going to do is add the garlic, tomato, and peppers. If you were using canned tomatoes, you would add the white wine at this point. I'm going to add these just before the white wine, just to give them a chance to kind of cook a little bit before that white wine goes in. You're going to add everything, including the juice, to the pot as well. My tomatoes have also been vacuum sealed and frozen for the last little while, so this is going to give them a chance to just thaw that last little bit. I did take them out earlier and I did stick them in the microwave, but they're still a little bit frozen. Let me tell you, can you ever smell the flavor coming off those fire roasted tomatoes? Just gonna let this cook away for a minute or two, just as I say, kind of break those tomatoes down some, get the garlic and everything thawed and cooked a little bit. Alright, now that the tomatoes have had a chance to break down, we're gonna add 1/4 cup of dry white wine to that. And then we're going to continue cooking for an additional 5 minutes or so, allowing this to simmer away. You want to cook off as much of that wine as you can so that there's no alcohol left. Now that we've had a little over 5 minutes to allow that white wine to cook off the alcohol and leave the flavor, let's add some cream and turn it into a rosé. So let's leave that for another 5 minutes or so, give that 1 cup of cream time to kind of cook in and add into this. Now that the sauce is cooked down more, we're going to add a tablespoon of fresh basil. Like I said, if you're using dried stuff, you're going to use a teaspoon, and you're going to add it at the same time that you added the chili flakes and the pepper. And we're also going to add 1 tablespoon of fresh parsley. Same thing, if you're using dried, use a teaspoon, add it earlier. We're going to leave that for just a minute or two, not very long at all. Those herbs have had long enough. Now if you were just using crushed tomatoes, you could carry on and finish up the pasta sauce now. In my case, I'm going to move this into a blender and crush those tomatoes up myself. If you had an immersion hand blender, you could do that as well. As Steve said earlier, ours caught fire, we don't have that. So I'll stick it in the blender and we'll be back once it's blended up. Alright, we've got that nice and blended up. As you can see, it's a nice consistency now. So we'll add that back to our pot. And we'll finish up our sauce. And the last major step of the video, 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. We're going to add that in, stir it through, just let it melt in, then you're pretty much done. Alright, and that's pretty much it. So let's just give it a quick taste test, make sure I don't need to adjust any of the flavors. That's really, really good. So I'm going to take it off the heat. I'll set it aside. We're not yet ready for dinner, so I'll come back later, cook up some pasta, and show you the final product. It wasn't dinner time earlier, but it is dinner time now. As you can see, I've gone ahead and cooked up some pasta here to go along with our sauce. And rosé sauce typically doesn't have any meat in it. I have gone ahead and added a couple sausage as well. Those are optional. All I did was bake them in the oven and then just toss them on top. So they should be good to go. So let's give it a test and see how it tastes. That is very, very tasty. You get the nice fire roasted flavors of those tomatoes. The sausage adds a little extra something very delicious. This is very, very tasty. If you like pasta, this is a keeper 100%. And one thing I would definitely recommend is those fire roasted tomatoes. You can use crushed tomatoes, and obviously I'm not saying you have to go barbecue your own tomatoes, but you can buy fire roasted tomatoes from the store. I would highly recommend using them. It adds tremendous flavor to this. That's it for this video. Hit like if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel if you really liked it, hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload next, and don't forget to share it with your friends. And comment down below, what's your favorite kind of pasta sauce? Or better yet, do you have a pasta sauce you'd like to see us make next? Oh, and don't forget, first we cook, then we eat. So good.